Okay, so picture this. You finally made it. That dream destination.
Hmm.
Maybe it's Tokyo, maybe Rome, maybe Marrakech.
Right. Somewhere amazing.
Exactly. The sights, the sounds.
Hmm.
It's incredible. But then that moment hits. You need to actually get somewhere.
The logistics tick in.
And bam,
Yeah.
that little flicker of panic. That,
Mhm.
uh-oh, failing starts because, well, the language barrier around just catching a bus or finding a taxi, it suddenly feels massive,
Yep.
like a wall.
It's a completely valid feeling. Honestly, it stops so many people from really diving in when they travel. Navigating transport systems in another language, it can be genuinely intimidating.
It absolutely is, and you are definitely not alone if you feel that. We were digging into the source material for this. It's a guide specifically on English for travel transportation, and wow,
What did it say?
it highlighted this Provova study.
Yeah.
A full third of American travelers get anxious about language barriers abroad. And get this, for Gen Z travelers, that number jumps to over 50%, more than half. That level of anxiety, it's just a huge barrier, isn't it, to really experiencing things?
It really is. And what this source material does so well, I think, is it takes that big, scary problem and, breaks it down
Right.
into manageable chunks.
Right.
It's not saying you need to become fluent overnight. It's about having a targeted, practical toolkit for those specific moments.
Yeah.
Airports, train stations, taxis.
Exactly. So our mission really in this deep dive is to pull out the most important stuff from this source, the vocabulary, the key phrases, the tips, basically the things that build confidence.
So you can swap that feeling of dread for, well, hopefully some actual excitement about getting around.
Precisely. By the time we're done, we want you to feel like you've got the keys to unlock any city's transport system.
Let's do it. So the source starts, very logically, with the absolute foundations, the building blocks,
Which are?
the core verbs you need to even talk about moving around, and then those essential questions for when you just need help.
All right, these are like your workhorses,
Yeah.
linguistically speaking. The source really hammers home getting comfortable with these first.
Yeah. So, key verbs of motion. The most obvious one is to go.
Can't get much more basic than that.
And it's incredibly versatile. You can use it for almost anything. I need to go to the airport. Does this train go downtown? Simple, direct. It just works.
Okay, go. Got it. What else?
Then you've got to travel. The source uses this a bit more generally, maybe for longer distances. I love to travel by train, or, we're traveling through 3 countries.
Makes sense. More about the overall journey.
And then verbs that are more specific to the how, like to drive, if you're the one controlling the car, or the bus driver drives the bus.
Okay.
And to ride, that's common for things like bicycles, motorbikes, sometimes even being a passenger, like riding a horse, or you can say riding the bus, though often people just use mortal.
To take. I was just thinking that.
Exactly. That's the next one, and the source really highlights it as kind of an MVP, a most valuable player.
MVP verb. I like it.
Yeah. Because you can take almost any kind of transport. It's a fantastic shortcut. I'll take a taxi. Let's take the subway. Did you take the ferry?
So if you blank on the specific verb, take is usually a safe bet.
Often, yes. It's incredibly flexible. Really handy.
Good tip. Okay, so we can go, travel, drive, ride, take. What about planes and boats?
Right, the obvious ones. To fly for planes, to sail for boats and ships.
Okay, and physically getting on and off these things.
Good point. The source gives us to get on and to board. Board is a bit more formal. You hear it a lot for planes and ships.
Boarding the aircraft now?
Exactly. And the opposites are to get off and to light. A light is quite formal, though. You might see it written on a sign, but you probably wouldn't say it.
So, get on the bus, board the plane, get off at the next stop. Makes sense.
Yeah. And for things on a schedule, like trains or buses, 2 crucial ones to catch, meaning you're on time for it.
We need to hurry to catch the train.
Right. And the opposite, which you really don't want to miss.
Oh no, we missed the last bus. Been there.
Haven't we all? So, okay, you have these action words. How does the source suggest using them with questions? It boils it down to a few essentials.
And the golden rule, number 1, according to the source.
Always start with, excuse me.
The universal polite opener.
Absolutely. Gets attention without being rude. After that, the most basic question is, where is? Simple, direct, for finding a place. Where is the bus stop? Where is platform 3?
Okay. And if you need a bit more than just the location, like how to actually get there.
Then you use how do I get to? This asks for the method or the route. How do I get to the National Museum? It implies you need directions or advice on which bus or train to take.
Gotcha. And for just general help.
You can always fall back on, can you help me please? Simple and effective. Or if you're already on your way but feeling unsure, is this the right way to it? Or is this the right bus for the zoo?
Good confirmation questions.
And inevitably, you'll need to ask about money. How much is a ticket to?
Ah, yes, the cost.
And the source adds a little note here, the UK-US difference. A return ticket in the UK is what Americans call a round-trip ticket.
Oh, that's a handy one to know. Avoids confusion.
Definitely. So you can combine these easily. Excuse me, where can I catch the bus to the market? Excuse me, how do I get to the nearest subway station?
And the source's big tip for all of this basic interaction.
Speak slowly and clearly. Don't worry about your accent, it's fine. Simple sentences are best. And remember, the person you're asking might also be using English as a second language, so clarity helps everyone.
Good point. Keep it simple.
Exactly. And they also mention a few other UKS word pairs to be aware of, besides tickets, like transport versus transportation.
Right. Brits say transport.
And lorry versus truck, or underground, or tube in London versus subway in the US. Just knowing these exist helps.
Okay, that's a really solid foundation. Essential verbs and questions. Now, let's venture into arguably the most complex transport hub. The airport.
The airport. Yeah, the source points out that flying is how most international trips start, right? So getting the airport English down is pretty crucial.
It can feel overwhelming. All those signs, announcements, different counters.
It's the sheer volume of specific terminology, I think.
So what are the absolute must-knows the source pulls out for surviving the airport?
Okay, they start with the core stuff about your actual journey. Airline, flight, ticket, or more likely now, e-ticket.
Right, your digital ticket.
And everything about your bags. Baggage or luggage, same thing. But specifically, checked baggage, the ones that go underneath.
In the hold.
Exactly. And carry-on baggage or hand luggage, the bags you keep with you. And related to that, your baggage allowance, how much weight or how many bags you're allowed.
Okay. Then you get there, you need to
check in. Usually at the check-in counter, that's where you show your passport and ticket, drop off your check bags, and get your boarding pass.
Magic ticket to get on the plane.
Yeah.
The fun part.
Yes. Security check or security screening, taking laptops out, liquids in bags, the whole drill.
Then you follow the signs for departures if you're leaving, or arrivals if you're, well, arriving.
You need to find your gate number, listed on your boarding pass and the departure screens, and pay attention to the boarding time. Big airports might have different terminals, so check that too.
And when you land,
you usually go through passport control or immigration first, then you collect your bags, and then you go through customs.
Right. Immigration checks you. Customs checks your stuff.
Basically. And hopefully your stuff is waiting for you at baggage claim on the baggage carousel. You'll often need your flight number to know which carousel.
Flight number is key. You need it everywhere.
It really is. And keeping an eye on the departure boards for those important status updates. On time, fingers crossed, or the dreaded delayed or canceled.
Ugh. Okay, and on the plane itself, a couple of key terms.
Yeah, you put your carry-on in the overhead bin or overhead locker, and if you need the toilet, you ask for the lavatory.
Lavatory. Got it. Posh word for toilet. Okay, so that's the vocabulary. How does the source suggest actually using it? Like in those mini conversations you have?
They break it down by location. So at check-in, you'd approach the counter and say something like, "Hi, I'd like to check in for my flight to London."
Have your documents ready.
Definitely. "Here's my passport and e-ticket." The agent will probably ask, "How many bags are you checking in?" You might want to ask for a specific seat. "Could I have a window seat, please?" Or an aisle seat.
And they'll give you your boarding pass and tell you the gate and time.
Exactly. Then going through security. It feels intense, but the officers usually give clear instructions.
Like laptops out.
Yeah. Place your bags on the belt, take off shoes, belts, jackets, remove electronics, any liquids. You might need to ask a question yourself, like, do I need to take my tablet out too?
Good question. Okay, survive security. Now you're at the gate.
Listen for announcements. They'll say when boarding starts, often by zones or rows. If you're unsure, just ask the gate agent. "Excuse me, is this the correct gate for flight BA213? Oh. Or if you miss something, "Sorry, what did that announcement say?"
Always okay to ask. On the plane itself.
Flight attendants will greet you, "Welcome aboard. You might need help finding your seat. Could you help me find my seat, please? Simple requests are fine. Could I have a blanket, or could I have some water?
Pay attention to safety briefings and announcements about turbulence.
And landing times. And yes, knowing how to ask for the lavatory.
Right. Okay, we've landed. Immigration and customs. What are the key interactions there?
Be prepared for standard questions from the immigration officer. Passport, please. What's the purpose of your visit?
Tourism, business.
Right. How long will you be staying? Give a clear answer. For 2 weeks, for 10 days, where will you be staying? Have your hotel name ready. At the Grand Hotel.
And customs might ask.
Do you have anything to declare? Assuming you don't have restricted goods or too much cash, the answer is usually nothing to declare. Keep answers simple, direct, and truthful.
Okay. Last hurdle. Baggage claim.
Look for the screens showing which carousel has the bags for your flight number. If you can't see it, ask staff. Excuse me, which carousel is the baggage for flight number?
And if the worst happens, your bag doesn't show up.
Don't panic. Find the baggage services desk, or sometimes it's called lost and found. Go there and say, my luggage hasn't arrived on flight number. I need to report lost luggage. Have your baggage claim sticker handy.
Okay, so the source boils down the key airport phrases too.
Things like, where is the check-in counter for airline? What gate is my flight to city? Is my flight on time, delayed, canceled? And where is the baggage claim for flight number?
And the big overall tip for airports.
Remember that international airports have tons of signs, often in English. Staff deal with travelers from all over the world every day. They're used to helping, so don't be afraid to ask, even if you have to point.
Good advice. Okay, airport conquered. Now let's hit the streets. Taxis, ride shares, maybe renting a car.
Right. These give you more flexibility, maybe door-to-door service. The source covers all three. Taxis or cabs, ride shares like Uber, and rental cars.
Let's start with taxis. How do you even get one?
You might find a designated taxi rank, that's common UK English, or a taxi stand, more US, or you can just hail one on the street in many places.
And phrases for finding one.
Simple ones like, excuse me, where can I find a taxi? Or is there a taxi rank near here?
Okay, you've got one, you get in. What next?
The driver will probably ask, where to? The key phrase the source gives is, could you take me to address or landmark, please? It's polite and clear.
Good idea to have the address written down, too, right?
Definitely. You can just show it to them. If you have bags, you can ask, could you help me with my bags for the boot, please? Or trunk in the U.S.
Boot trunk. Good one. What about during the ride? Fares, directions?
Important to clarify the fare if possible. You can ask, could you please use the meter? Or maybe, how much will it be to destination approximately, just to get an idea.
And if they're driving like a maniac?
A polite, could you please slow down a little? Might work. To get out, could you stop here, please?
Paying up?
The driver will state the fare. It's smart to ask before the ride starts or when you get in, do you accept credit cards? Save hassle later. Always good to ask for a receipt. Could I have a receipt, please? And tipping.
The source just notes that tipping customs vary hugely around the world, so maybe do a quick search for your destination beforehand.
Good point. Okay, what about ride shares? Uber, Lyft, that kind of thing.
Here, most of the communication is through the app, which is easier. Booking, destination, payment, it's all digital.
True, but there's still that moment of finding the right car.
Right. The key phrase the source gives for that is confirming with the driver. Are you driver's name for your name? No, just to make sure you're not hopping into a random car.
Smart. And payment is usually automatic, so that's one less thing to worry about.
Okay, then there's the ultimate freedom. Renting a car.
Maximum flexibility, but also maybe the most complex interaction. The source strongly suggests booking online in advance.
Makes sense. So you get to the rental desk.
You'd say, hi, I have a reservation under the name, your name. Or if you haven't booked, I'd like to rent a car, please. Be ready with your driving license, UK, or driver's license, US, and usually your passport, too.
They'll ask what kind of car you want.
Yep. You'll need to know the type of car you need, compact, sedan, or saloon in the UK, SUV, etc. And crucially, the transmission, automatic or manual, also called stick shift. Most tourists prefer automatic if they're not used to manual.
Definitely easier if you're driving on the wrong side of the road. What about insurance?
Ah, insurance. The source says this is important. There will be options like collision damage waiver, CDW. Don't just tick the box, ask, what exactly does this insurance cover?
Good advice. What else to clarify?
The rental period, dates and times, pick-up and drop-off locations, sometimes different. Key questions to ask. What's the daily rate or the weekly rate? Are there any additional charges I should know about?
Like mileage limits.
Exactly. Does it have GPS? Does it have air conditioning? Is there a mileage limit? And very important, what type of fuel does it use? Is it petrol, UK, or gasoline, US? Diesel.
Putting the wrong fuel in is a disaster.
Big time. Also ask, do I need to return it with a full tank? Usually yes.
Okay, you've got the keys before you drive off.
Crucial step.
Mm-hmm.
Walk around the car, check for any existing scratches or dents, make sure they're noted on your rental agreement before you leave. Saves arguments later.
Smart.
And maybe ask for a quick orientation if you're unfamiliar with the model. Could you show me how the lights work? Where are the wipers? How do I open the bonnet hood? Or the boot trunk?
Bonnet hood, boot trunk.
Right.
More UKS pairs.
Yep. The source includes a little cheat sheet for road terms, too, like motorway UK versus freeway US.
Dual carriageway versus divided highway.
Roundabout versus traffic circle. Diversion versus detour.
Car park versus parking lot.
Pavement, UK sidewalk versus sidewalk, US. Curb versus curb. Indicator versus blinker. Knowing these helps understand road signs and directions, even if you're not driving.
That's really useful. So the source's key takeaways for car travel.
The main phrases are things like, could you take me to address for taxis? Are you driver's name for my name for ride shares? And I'd like to rent an automatic car for a week for rentals.
And the general tip.
Be polite. Always confirm details like fares or rental terms. And don't hesitate to ask questions if you're unsure about anything, especially with a rental car.
Makes sense. Okay, that covers cars. Now, for what's often the cheapest, most local way to get around cities, public transport. Buses, trains, subways.
Right. The source calls this navigating the grid. And it definitely has its own language, its own set of terms you need to know.
Like a map legend for the system.
Exactly. You need to know where to cache things. Bus stop, train station, or railway station in the UK, sometimes railroad station in the US. Subway station, which might also be called metro tube in London or underground.
And inside the station.
You wait on the platform for trains, though in the US they often say track number.
Okay, and you need a ticket.
You need a ticket. Is it a single or one-way ticket or a return or a round-trip ticket? The cost is the fare. You'll want to check the timetable, UK, or schedule US, to see when things run.
And the road itself.
Each bus or train line follows a route or a line. Definitely grab a map of the system if you can.
Where do you buy these tickets?
Either at a ticket machine or vending machine, or from a person at a ticket office, sometimes called a booking office.
And watch out for the tech.
Inspector or conductor who might come around to check your ticket. In the US, if you change lines, you might need a transfer ticket. And know if you're getting on a local service, stops everywhere, or an express, faster, fewer stops.
Okay, let's break it down. Buses first. How do you navigate those?
At the bus stop, if you're unsure, you can ask other people waiting. Excuse me, does this bus go to the museum? Or ask the driver as you get on, does this bus stop at Elm Street?
Paying the fare.
If you pay the driver directly, you'd say, a ticket to destination, please? Or ask, how much is the fare to? Listen for the driver saying, fares, please. But the source notes, many cities now use travel cards you preload with money.
Like an Oyster card in London or a Metro card in New York.
Exactly. On the bus itself, you might ask someone, is the seat taken? Listen for automated announcements like, next stop, Central Station. Press the stop button before your stop. And say, excuse me, please, if you need to squeeze past people to get off.
Okay. Trains and subways, metro stoops. Similar process.
Similar, but often starts with finding the right platform or track. Look at the departure boards. They list the destination, departure time, and platform track number.
If the board is confusing,
ask station staff, excuse me, which platform is the train to Oxford? And it's always good to double check it's the right train. Does this train stop at Reading? Remember, the UK usually says at platform 2, while the US often says on track 2.
Little differences. Buying tickets.
Ticket machines are common. The source highlights that most have an English language option. Look for a flag icon or the word English.
What are the typical steps on a machine?
Usually. Select language. Choose your destination. Choose the ticket type, single return. Select the number of tickets. Confirm just pay, card, or cash.
And at a ticket office.
You'd say, I'd like a ticket to destination, please. Specify if you want single or return and how many tickets. You can also ask, when is the next train? Or is it a direct train? Or do I need to change train?
Good questions. What about being on the train?
Listen for announcements. Next station, Piccadilly Circus. This train is for Heathrow Airport. And that classic London Underground warning. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Can't forget that one.
You might ask someone, is this seat free? Look out for reserved seats. U.S. conductors might shout, "All aboard," before leaving. UK guards might say, "Take your seats," or "All change," when the train reaches its final destination.
Okay, so the source summarizes the key public transport questions as
Things like, where can I buy a ticket? How often do the bus trains run? What time is the last train tonight? Is there a map of the subway system? Excuse me, I think I'm lost. Can you help? Which line do I need for the Eiffel Tower?
and the overall tip for mastering public transport.
Study the maps beforehand if you can. Listen carefully to announcements. And seriously, don't hesitate to ask staff or even other passengers for help. Most people are willing to point you in the right direction.
Right. Okay, we've covered the big ones: airports, cars, public transport grids. But the source also touches on some other ways you might get around.
Yeah, expanding the toolkit a bit. They cover things like ferries for crossing water rivers, lakes between islands.
You'd go to a ferry terminal for that.
Exactly. Key phrases would be, where can I catch the ferry to the island? How much is the ticket? What time is the next ferry? How long does the crossing take? Maybe, is there a car ferry if you're driving?
Or maybe, does the ferry have an observation deck if you want views?
Good one. And hopefully you won't need it, but where are the life jackets?
Good to know. What else? Boats?
Boat is more general, maybe for a sightseeing tour. Are there boat tours of the harbor? Or renting a small boat? How much is it to rent a boat? Ship usually means a larger vessel, like a cruise ship. You talk about the port or the dock.
Okay. What about on land, but not cars or buses?
The source mentions bicycle or bike rentals, which are popular in many cities now.
Good way to see things.
Definitely. You'd need vocabulary like bike lane or cycle lane in the UK, helmet lock, at the rental shop. I'd like to rent a bicycle for the day. Ask about the cost per hour day, if a lock and helmet are included, and where to return it.
Motorcycles, motorbike, scooters.
Similar rental process, but the source notes you should definitely ask about license requirements and insurance.
Good point. What about trams?
Trams, common in Europe, or streetcar, more US. Those run on rails in the street. Communication is much like buses. Does this tram go to the city center? Where do I buy a ticket?
And monorails. You see those sometimes.
Yeah, often at airports, theme parks, or in some modern cities. It's basically a train on a single rail, so phrases are similar to train subways. Where is the monorail station? How much is a ticket?
Now, what about those little three-wheeled things you see everywhere in Asia?
Ah, the rickshaw or tuk-tuk. Auto rickshaws motorized, or
Right.
cycle rickshaws pedal-powered. The source has a really important tip for these.
Which is?
Price negotiation is usually expected, and you must agree on the price before you get in.
Ah, the golden rule of tuk-tuks.
Absolutely. The key phrase is, how much to go to destination? Settle on a price first. Then you can say, okay, could you take me to the Grand Palace?
Idle tip. Any others? Cable cars.
Cable cars, yeah. For steep hills or mountains, simple phrases. Where can I get the cable car up the mountain? How much is a ride?
So for all these slightly less common modes, what's the main takeaway?
The source says the basic principles still apply. State your destination clearly. Ask the cost beforehand if you can, especially if it's not fixed. Confirm times. Be polite. And pointing at a map or a picture of your destination is a universal helper.
Makes sense. Okay, speaking of maps, even if you master the transport, you'll probably still need to ask for directions when you're just walking around.
Oh, inevitably. The source has a whole section on asking for directions like a local, or at least understanding them.
Because getting lost can be fun, but sometimes you just need to find the bathroom.
Exactly. Or your hotel. And again, it starts with politeness.
Let me guess. Excuse me.
You got it. The universal opener. The source suggests variations too, like, excuse me, can you help me please? Could you tell me the way to, I'm looking for place. Or even a very polite, sorry to bother you, but...
Okay, you've got their attention. What are the best phrases for the actual question?
Core ones are, how do I get to? Where is the nearest? Could you tell me how to get to? What's the best way to get to? Or confirming, is this the right way for? And, super useful, can you show me on the map?
Asking is one thing. Understanding the answer. That's the tricky part.
Totally. The source points out that people often use simple commands when giving directions. You need to listen for those key words.
Like?
Basic direction words. Go straight or go straight ahead or continue straight on. Turn left or turn right. Sometimes take a left right or make a left right.
Okay, straight, left, right.
Also, go past something, meaning walk beyond it.
Okay.
Cross the road or cross a bridge. Go along the street, go through the park or through a tunnel.
And people use landmarks, right?
Hugely important. Listen for landmarks or points of reference. Things like traffic lights or stoplight in the US, crossroads, UK, or intersection, US. A roundabout, or a traffic circle, a street corner.
Or specific places.
Yeah, go past the big red building. It's next to the shop store, opposite the bank, behind the post office, near the church. Go through the park, cross the bridge, walk along the river, in the main square. You can't miss the monument.
Those really help anchor the directions. What about positioning words?
Prepositions of place. Crucial. Things like on your left, on your right. Next to the pharmacy, beside the cafe, between the bank and the library. Opposite the station. Across from the park. In front of the museum. Behind the church. Near the river, close to the bridge, at the end of the road, over the bridge, under the railway tracks.
Wow, okay. Lots to listen for.
And they'll often give you an idea of distance or time. It's about a 10-minute walk. It's not far from here. It's quite far. Maybe take the bus. It's about 500 meters that way. Go 2 blocks, common in U.S. cities. Or take the second right turn.
So putting it all together, the source gives an example dialogue.
Yeah. Imagine you ask, "Excuse me, how do I get to the city art gallery?" The local might say, "Go straight ahead on this street until you see the park on your left. Go past the park. Then, at the traffic lights, turn right. Go along that street and the gallery's on your right. It's opposite a big fountain. About 10 minutes walk."
Okay, that combines a lot of those elements.
Yeah.
But what if they say it's super fast, or you just don't understand? It's easy to just nod and pretend.
Don't do that. The source stresses it's absolutely okay to ask for clarification. Use phrases like, "Sorry, I didn't quite understand. Could you say that again, please?" Or, "Could you speak a little slower?"
Or ask about a specific word.
Definitely. "Sorry, what does roundabout mean?"
And a great technique is to repeat back what you think they said to check. Okay, so I go straight, then turn right at the park, and it's opposite a fountain.
That confirmation is smart. Prevents walking miles in the wrong direction.
Exactly. And if you're walking along and start to feel unsure again, just ask someone else, "Excuse me, is this the right way for the art gallery? Or am I going in the right direction?" What are the source's main tips for success with directions?
Listen for those keywords. Straight, left, right landmarks. Use your map visually. Point if it helps. Watch people's hand gestures. They often point. And always say thank you. Most people are genuinely happy to help someone who's lost.
That's reassuring. Okay, so we're armed with phrases for planned travel and asking directions. But travel isn't always smooth sailing, is it? What about when things go wrong?
Yes. The unexpected. Delays, lost luggage, emergencies. The source covers handling these curveballs, too. Being prepared helps you stay calm.
Let's start with the common one. Delays and cancellations, especially flights or trains.
Right. Key vocabulary here. Delayed, canceled, gate change, rebook, refund, compensation.
So you're staring at the departure board and your flight is delayed. What do?
Go to the airline desk or information counter. Ask, "My flight to city seems delayed. Do you know for how long?" If it says canceled, the board says my flight is canceled. What are my options?
Good, direct questions. What else might you need to ask?
Do I need to rebook my ticket? Can I get a refund? Is there another flight or train going today? If it's a long delay, especially overnight, ask, will the airline provide accommodation? You could also ask, what's the reason for the delay cancellation?
And listen for announcements, presumably.
Definitely. They'll usually announce updates over the PA system using phrases like delayed by approximately 2 hours or we apologize for the inconvenience.
Okay, another common nightmare. Lost or damaged luggage.
Yes. If your bag doesn't appear on the carousel, head straight for the baggage services or lost and found desk for your airline.
What did you say?
My luggage hasn't arrived on flight number. Or, I'd like to report my lost luggage. If it did arrive but it's broken, my suitcase is damaged, here's my baggage claim tag.
What will they ask you?
To describe the bag, color, size, type, brand, your flight number, where you flew from, and your contact details and where you're staying locally.
And what should you ask them?
Good questions are, how long does it usually take to find lost luggage? How will you update me? Will you deliver the bag to my hotel when you find it? And importantly, does the airline offer any compensation for essential items I need to buy now, like toiletries? The source mentions you'll probably fill out a form, often called a PIR Property Irregularity Report.
Good to know. Okay, moving on to more serious issues. What if you feel unwell?
Health first, always. Simple phrases for feeling sick. I don't feel well. Or, I feel sick. Maybe be more specific. I feel dizzy. I have a headache, stomachache, fever.
And if it feels more serious?
I need to see a doctor. I think I need to go to the hospital.
How do you ask for help?
Approach staff. Hotel, station, airport, or even just someone on the street. Excuse me, can you help me? I'm not feeling well. Ask, is there a first aid station nearby? Or, where is the nearest pharmacy? Note, the source mentions in the UK and some other places, pharmacies are often called chemists.
And for real emergency.
Can you call an ambulance, please? Don't hesitate if it's serious.
What about allergies or existing conditions?
The source has a great tip here. Carry a small card with that info clearly written in English and ideally translate it into the local language too. You can show it if needed. Phrases you might use. I am allergic to peanuts. I have diabetes. Also, know how to provide your emergency contact details.
Very smart tip. Okay, other potential problems. Losing vital documents.
Losing your passport or wallet is terrifying. First step is usually reporting it. I have lost my passport wallet. Ask, where's the nearest police station? Especially if you suspect theft. For a lost passport, you'll need your embassy. Where is the embassy for your country?
What if you're just plain lost and feel unsafe?
Find someone official looking or duck into a shop and say, I'm lost and I don't know where I am. Can you help me find my hotel? It's called the hotel name.
And reporting an accident or witnessing something?
There has been an accident. I need to report a theft.
General emergency phrases.
Yeah.
The real basics.
Help. I need help urgently. To request emergency services, call the police, call the fire department, call an ambulance. Be ready to give your name, your location, I am at address landmark, and the nature of the emergency. The emergency is.
The source's overall point here.
Being prepared with even a few of these phrases can make a huge difference in staying calm and getting the help you need quickly. Know the local emergency number for the country you're in. And travel insurance is always recommended.
Absolutely. Okay, we've covered the practicalities, the problems, but the source also adds another layer, right? About fitting in and using tech.
Yeah, adding some finesse. Notes on cultural nuances and tech tools to make things even smoother.
Let's talk etiquette on public transport first. It varies, right?
Hugely.
Yeah.
But the source says general politeness is usually a good guide. One big one, especially in places like the UK, is queuing, lining up properly. Don't cut in line.
Good rule for life, really.
Yeah.
What about seats?
Generally, it's considered good manners to offer your seat to elderly people, pregnant women, people with disabilities, or those with very young children. Many systems have designated priority seats for this.
Personal space.
Be mindful, especially when it's crowded. Don't sprawl out. Don't put your bags on empty seats if people are standing. Avoid leaning heavily on poles others might need to hold. Some cultures value personal space more than others.
Noise levels.
Keep phone calls and conversations reasonably quiet. The source mentions Japan has a strong manner mode culture on trains, and Parisians aren't fans of loud talkers on the metro. Basically, don't be disruptive.
Eating and drinking.
Policies really vary. Sometimes it's banned outright, sometimes just discouraged, especially smelly food. Best bet is to see what locals are doing. If nobody else is eating, maybe save your snack for later.
And getting on and off.
Let people get off the train or bus before you try to get on. Don't block the doorways or aisles with yourself or your luggage.
Simple courtesy, really.
And basic please and thank you go a long, long way. The source even mentions that in France, a simple bonjour, hello to the bus driver when you're bored, is customary.
Oh, and that ticket validation point.
Yes. Crucial in some places, like Germany. On some systems, like trams or local trains, you have to validate your ticket in a machine before you board, or risk a big fine if an inspector checks. Watch what others do.
Observing locals seems key. Okay, what about tech? How can apps help?
Technology is a massive help these days. The source highlights several types of travel apps. Navigation is obvious, Google Maps, City Mapper, which is excellent for public transport options, Maps.me for offline maps.
Ride-sharing apps.
Yep, Uber, Lyft, Grab, common in Southeast Asia, Bolt. Depends on the region. They simplify booking and payment.
Airline and train apps.
Most airlines and many train companies have their own apps now for booking, check-in, getting your boarding pass digitally, and getting delay updates. Super useful.
And for the language barrier itself.
Translation apps are game changers. Google Translate is the big one, especially with features like conversation mode or Google Lens, which lets you point your camera at text, like a sign or menu, and see it translated on your screen.
Wow, that's amazing.
There are also apps like Rome to Rio that help you figure out how to get between places using multiple modes of transport. And a simple currency converter app is always handy.
Any specific phrases related to tech?
You might need to ask, is there Wi-Fi here to use your apps? Or which app is best for checking bus schedules? Or showing your phone, can I show you my ticket on the app?
What about those ticket machines in stations? They can look intimidating.
They can. But the source points out that almost all ticket machines in international hubs have an English language option. Look for a little flag icon or the word English.
Once you find English, what are the usual steps?
Typically, select language, choose your destination, select the ticket type, single, return, adult, child, choose the number of tickets, confirm the details, pay, check if it takes cash, card, or both. Take your ticket and any change.
And if you get stuck with the machine,
Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. Ask station staff or even someone waiting in line, "Excuse me, could you help me with this machine?" Or, "I'm trying to buy a ticket to destination. Does this machine give change? Does it accept credit cards?" And
so combining that tech savviness with awareness of local customs.
really helps reduce stress and just makes the whole travel experience smoother and more enjoyable, according to the source.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today. Or maybe I should say a lot of transport systems.
We really have. From those basic building blocks, the verbs and questions, right through navigating airports, taxis, rental cars, buses, trains, subways.
Ferries, tuk-tuks, asking for directions, handling problems like delays or lost luggage.
And even thinking about cultural etiquette and using technology, it's pretty comprehensive.
It really feels like the source provides this amazing toolkit. And the goal, like you said earlier, isn't about fluency. It's about confidence.
Exactly. Confidence to handle those key moments that, as that study showed, cause so much anxiety for so many travelers. Remember that third of people feeling anxious?
Yeah. So knowing all this is great, but the crucial part is actually using it. What's the call to action from the source?
It's very practical. They suggest thinking about your next trip, real or imagined. And pick just one section we talked about today, the one that feels most relevant, or maybe the one that still feels a bit scary. Is it the airport? Using the subway? Renting a car?
Okay, just focus on one area.
Then go back through that section and just write down 5 key phrases, only 5. The ones that really jumped out or the ones you know you'd need in that situation. Don't try to memorize everything at once.
5 key phrases. Manageable.
And here's the most important step. Practice saying those 5 phrases out loud this week. Say them while you're cooking, walking, whatever.
Just get used to the sound, the feeling of saying them.
Precisely. Practice making your mouth form the words. The more you say them out loud, the less likely you are to freeze up when you actually need them. They become more automatic.
That makes sense. And they also suggested reflecting.
Yeah. Think about one specific transport situation that maybe used to fill you with a bit of dread. Buying that complicated train ticket, hailing a taxi in a busy street, whatever it was. After listening today, do you feel maybe just a little bit more prepared for it now? Acknowledge that shift, however small.
Okay.
Remember that feeling we talked about at the start? Standing on a street corner somewhere new, feeling totally lost, anxious.
Yeah. That uh-oh moment.
Now imagine that same situation, but this time you have those 5 phrases practiced. You take a breath, you look around, you see someone who looks friendly.
You walk over, smile, and actually say something. "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to..."
Exactly. That single act, just being able to ask that question using the English you've learned, it changes everything.
It's not just about getting from A to B anymore.
Not at all. It's about connection. It's about problem solving. It's about independence.
These phrases, they're not just words.
They're keys. Keys to freedom, keys to feeling capable, keys to unlocking much richer travel experiences. You stop being just a tourist looking in from the outside.
And you become an active participant, able to navigate the world a little more confidently.
That's the goal.
Use these keys.
Yeah.
Go explore.